3 days later, Jiho stood on the bridge of the human battleship Seoul and watched through the massive view screen as repair crews worked on the Baekdu's Pride. His old cargo ship looked like it had been chewed up and spit out. But the engineers promised they could fix it. Eventually, Captain Jiho, a voice said behind him. He turned to find Admiral Seokjin approaching. The admiral was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He looked at Jiho for a long moment, then did something unexpected. He saluted. "Sir, you don't need to—" Jiho started. "Yes, I do," Seokjin interrupted. "What you and your crew did was remarkable. Against all logic and tactical sense, you kept 3,000 refugees alive until help could arrive. The entire Third Fleet owes you a debt." Jiho felt uncomfortable with the praise. "We just did what needed to be done, sir." "That's what makes it remarkable," the admiral said. He gestured to the view screen, where the Velan ship floated peacefully among the human fleet. "Captain Prill has been telling everyone who will listen about the Deathworlders who came from the stars to save us. The story is spreading through the galaxy faster than we can track it." "Is that going to be a problem?" Jiho asked. Seokjin smiled slightly. "Actually, no. It's solving several problems we didn't even know we had. Come with me. I want to show you something." They walked through the corridors of the battleship until they reached the communication center. Inside, dozens of people were working at stations monitoring messages from across known space. "This is Yoongi," Seokjin said, introducing a young man with sharp eyes and quick hands. "He's our tactical coordinator. Yoongi, tell Captain Jiho what we've been seeing." Yoongi pulled up a display showing a star map. It was covered in markers and notations. "In the past 3 days, we've received contact from 17 different species," Yoongi explained. "All of them are asking for defense pacts with humanity. They want human protection." Jiho blinked. 17 species, why? "Because word has spread about what happened here," Yoongi said. "The Krath Dominion has been bullying smaller civilizations for decades. No one could stop them. But then a human cargo ship stood against a Krath Armada and survived. Then a single human destroyer disabled half their fleet. Then the Third Fleet arrived and the Krath surrendered without firing another shot. The galaxy is scared of the Krath," Seokjin added. "But now they're more scared of what we might do to them. Which means they want to be our friends instead of our enemies." Another officer approached. A woman named Jiwoo who wore the insignia of intelligence services. "Captain Jiho." "We've been interrogating Commander Voss," she said. "He's been very cooperative. It turns out the Krath have detailed files on every species in this sector. Files on their military capabilities, their weaknesses, their psychology. And," Jiho prompted. "They had a file on humans," Jiwoo said, "but it was badly out of date. It said humans were primitive, new to space, and unlikely to be a threat. Voss didn't know about Earth being a Class 12 death world. He didn't know about human reaction times or our ability to handle high G forces. He thought you'd run away like most species would." "He thought wrong," Jiho said quietly. "Yes. And now the entire Krath Dominion knows they were wrong. They've already started withdrawing their fleets from contested territories. They don't want to fight us." Seokjin pulled up another display. It showed news broadcasts from dozens of different alien civilizations. Jiho couldn't understand most of the languages, but he could see images of human ships, human soldiers, and, repeatedly, footage of the Baekdu's Pride limping through the asteroid field with the Velan refugee ship behind it. "You've become famous, Captain," Seokjin said. "The first human to stand against a galactic power. The merchant who became a hero." "I'm not a hero," Jiho protested. "I just couldn't leave those people to die." "That's exactly why you're a hero," a new voice said. Jiho turned to see Captain Prill entering the communication center. The Velan moved like flowing water, his body designed for swimming rather than walking. His large eyes were the color of deep ocean and they were bright with emotion. "Captain Jiho," Prill said in his musical voice, "my people wish to thank you. We have composed songs about your courage. We have told our children that when darkness came for them, the humans heard their cries and came running." "How are your people doing?" Jiho asked, changing the subject uncomfortably. "Healing," Prill said. "The human medical teams have been wonderful. Dr. Yuna has been teaching our doctors about human medicine. Did you know that humans can survive injuries that would kill most species? Your bodies can heal from terrible damage. It is remarkable. Earth didn't give us a choice," Jiho said. "We learned to be tough or we died. And now that toughness protects others," Prill said. "Captain, my people would like to request something. We wish to settle on a world near human space. We wish to be under human protection. We want our children to grow up knowing that if danger comes again, the Deathworlders will answer our call. Jiho looked at Admiral Seokjin, who nodded. We've already identified 3 suitable water worlds in human territory, the Admiral said. The government is fast-tracking the settlement process. The Velans will have a new home within 6 months. Tears started flowing down Prill's face. In Velan culture, Jiho had learned tears were a sign of great joy. Thank you, Prill whispered. Thank you for hearing our distress call. Thank you for coming when no one else would. Over the next few hours, Jiho met with various officials and officers. He learned that his entire crew was being awarded medals. Sora had been offered a position as a training instructor for the Navy, teaching pilots her aggressive flying techniques. Hyun and his assistant Yoonji were writing a manual about improvised spacecraft weapons that was already being distributed to every human ship. Taeyang had joined Commander Junho's crew on the Incheon. Do-hyun and his security team were being recruited to train cross-species defense forces. Yuna was setting up medical exchange programs with 12 different alien civilizations. What about you, Captain? Nari asked. She had been quiet during most of the meetings, observing and taking notes. What will you do? Jiho thought about it. The Baekdu's pride would be repaired eventually. He could go back to hauling cargo, flying peaceful routes, making an honest living. But he had seen what was out there in the galaxy now. He had seen species like the Krath who conquered and killed without mercy. He had seen species like the Valens who needed protection. I think, he said slowly, I'll keep flying, but maybe I'll make sure my cargo holds are always empty enough to carry refugees if they need it, and maybe I'll make sure my crew is always ready to answer a distress call. Nari smiled. I thought you might say that. Earth's diplomatic corps would like to offer you a position. We need people who understand both human capabilities and alien perspectives. We need people who have proven they'll do the right thing even when it's dangerous. You want me to be a diplomat? Jiho asked, surprised. I want you to be what you've always been, Nari said. Someone who hears a call for help and responds. But maybe with better weapons and official backing next time. Jiho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other people were in danger. Other refugees were fleeing. Other distress calls were being sent into the void, hoping someone would hear. Okay, he said. I'm in. 6 months later, Jiho stood on the surface of New Vela, the water world where the Velan refugees had settled. The sky was purple, and 3 moons hung in the sky like pearls. Velan children played in the shallow waters, laughing and splashing. Captain Prill stood beside him, watching his people with contentment. They are happy here, Prill said. They are safe. Good, Jiho said. Captain, may I ask you something? Prill said. Why did you come? You knew you would probably die. Your ship was no match for the Krath, but you came anyway. Why? Jiho thought about all the answers he could give, about duty, about honor, about what it meant to be human, but in the end he gave the simplest answer. On Earth we have an old saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We heard your call. We came. That's what good people do. Prill was quiet for a moment. Then he placed his webbed hand on Jiho's shoulder. The galaxy has learned a valuable lesson, he said. It has learned that humans are not primitive, not weak, not to be dismissed. When someone cries for help, the Deathworlders will hear, and they will come. Not just Deathworlders, Jiho corrected gently. Humans. People who remember what it was like when Earth was trying to kill us every day. We survived by helping each other. That's not going to change just because we're in space now. Above them, a human patrol ship crossed the sky, keeping watch over New Vela. In the distance, construction mechs were building homes for more Velan families. And on the horizon, Jiho could see ships from 12 different species, all of them coming to the world under human protection. The galaxy was changing. Fear was giving way to hope. Tyranny was facing resistance. And at the center of it all were humans, the species from the Death World, who had learned that the strongest weapon wasn't firepower or technology. It was the simple refusal to look away when someone needed help. Jiho smiled and watched the children play. They would grow up in a different galaxy than their parents had known. A galaxy where someone answered when you called for help. 8 hours had passed since the Baekdu's Pride entered the asteroid field. The ship looked like it had been through a war because it had. Hull plates were missing. Scorch marks covered the sides. One of the cargo bay doors hung at an odd angle, half torn off by a near miss from a Krath energy weapon. But the ship was still flying, and the Valens were still alive. Jiho's eyes were red from exhaustion, but he refused to leave his command chair. Around him, his crew worked with the efficiency of people who had learned to function on adrenaline and desperation. "Status report," he croaked, his throat dry. "2 Krath destroyers disabled," Taeyang said. "1 completely destroyed when we lured it into a collision with an asteroid. The rest are keeping their distance now. They've learned we're dangerous." "Our shields are down to 15%, Hyun reported. "I've been stealing power from life support and non-essential systems to keep them running. But Captain, the next solid hit will go through our shields like they're not even there." "The Velans?" Jiho asked. "Hanging in there," Sora said. "Prill says their people are praying. They have about 600 different gods, and they're praying to all of them." "Tell them to pray to the human ones too," Yuna suggested. "We need all the help we can get." Nari looked up from her station, and for the first time in hours she was smiling. "Captain, I have news. Commander Junho is 2 hours out. He's pushed the Incheon's engines so hard that his chief engineer is threatening to quit. But he'll be here, 2 hours." They had survived for 8 hours through luck, skill, and sheer stubborn refusal to die. 2 more hours seemed impossible and inevitable at the same time. "The Krath are moving," Taeyang said suddenly. 8 more ships just entered the asteroid field. Commander Voss has called in reinforcements. Jiho felt his stomach drop. 8 more ships. They had barely survived against the original force. Now the odds were even worse. 11 Krath warships, he said quietly, and 1 cargo hauler that's falling apart. "Don't forget the Velans," Sora reminded him. "They're with us too." "The Velans don't have weapons," Yuna pointed out. "They don't need weapons," Sora said fiercely. "They're the reason we're here. They're what we're protecting. That matters." Before Jiho could respond, the communication system chimed. It wasn't Commander Voss this time. It was a new voice, speaking in perfect human language with a slight accent. "Attention human vessel Baekdu's Pride. This is Commander Junho of the human destroyer Incheon. We are entering the asteroid field now. Please transmit your coordinates so we can find you in this mess." Relief flooded through the bridge like a physical thing. Several crew members actually cheered. "Junho," Jiho said, "you beautiful crazy pilot. How did you get here so fast?" "I lied about being 2 hours away," Junho said, and Jiho could hear the grin in his voice. "I was actually 20 minutes out. Wanted to surprise you. Also, my chief engineer really is threatening to quit. I think I melted something important in the engine room. There's smoke." "You're my favorite person in the entire universe right now," Jiho said. "Save it for later. Right now I need tactical information. How many Krath ships and where are they?" Taeyang quickly sent over all their sensor data. There was a pause while Junho reviewed it. "Okay," the destroyer commander said slowly. 11 warships. This is going to be interesting. Baekdu's Pride, I'm sending you coordinates. Get there and stay there. The Velans too. Let us handle this." On the view screen, Jiho saw the Incheon emerge from behind a massive asteroid. The destroyer was smaller than the Krath warships, but it moved with a grace and speed that made the alien vessels look clumsy by comparison. And from its launch bays, small craft began pouring out. "Fighters," Sora breathed. "Human fighters." 12 fighter craft streaked through the asteroid field, moving in perfect formation. Jiho watched in awe as they split up, each one picking a different target. Their flying was even more aggressive than Sora's had been. "This is Flight Leader Hana," a woman's voice came over the communication channel. "All fighters, free engagement. Remember your training. Show these Krath what human pilots can do." The fighters attacked, and suddenly the Krath formation fell apart. Human pilots flew like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. They didn't follow the careful, measured tactics that other species used. They flew like they were insane, like they didn't care if they lived or died. One fighter, call sign Phoenix 3, flew straight at a Krath destroyer. The Krath ship fired at it with every weapon it had. But the human pilot dodged and weaved through the barrage, impossibly fast, impossibly precise. At the last second, Phoenix 3 rolled and fired all its weapons at point-blank range into the Krath ship's bridge, then accelerated away so hard that Jiho's sensors registered forces that should have killed the pilot. "How are they surviving those turns?" Hyun whispered. "I'm reading 12 Gs, 15. That should crush a human body." "Earth gravity is stronger than most planets," Yuna said. "And we've been training in high-G environments since we started space travel. Our pilots can handle forces that would make other species pass out or die. Another Krath destroyer tried to swat one of the fighters out of space, but the human pilot predicted the weapon's trajectory and wasn't there when the blast arrived. Instead, the fighter was behind the Krath ship, targeting its engines. The Inchin joined the fight, and Commander Junho flew his destroyer like it was a fighter itself. He came in close, far closer than Galactic Combat Doctrine recommended, and fired his weapons directly into a Krath cruiser's shields. The concentrated fire at close range overloaded the shields, and the next volley tore into the hull. "They're not fighting like we expected," Taeyang said. "They're not keeping their distance and trading fire. They're getting in close. They're hunting." That was exactly what it looked like, Jiho realized. The human ships weren't fighting a battle. They were hunting prey. They worked together, coordinating their attacks, driving the Krath ships into positions where they couldn't maneuver. One Krath destroyer tried to run. Phoenix Leader. Hana pursued it, her fighter accelerating to speeds that made Jiho's eyes water. She caught up to the fleeing destroyer, matched its speed, and then systematically destroyed its engines one by one, leaving it floating dead in space. "Krath vessels," Commander Junho broadcast on all frequencies. "You have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we can continue this fight, and I promise you won't like how it ends." There was a long pause. Then one by one, 3 of the Krath ships powered down their weapons. But Commander Voss's ship and 4 others didn't surrender. Instead, they formed up and charged directly at the Inchin. "Stubborn," Junho muttered. "Fine. Hana, concentrate fire on Voss's ship. All fighters, hit them with everything you've got." The human fighters swarmed the Krath vessels like angry wasps. They were so fast, so aggressive, that the Krath couldn't even track them properly. Energy weapons fired at empty space while the fighters danced around them, striking again and again at weak points in the shields and armor. The Inchin went head-to-head with Voss's destroyer. At the last moment, Junho rolled his ship and fired all weapons. The Krath destroyer shuddered under the impact, its shields collapsing. "One more pass should finish them," Junho said. "All ships prepare for—" He was interrupted by an alarm. "Multiple alarms, new contacts," Sora shouted. "Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. It's the Third Fleet." The whole Third Fleet just arrived. The view screen filled with human warships, destroyers, cruisers, a carrier, and at the center of it all, a massive battleship that made everything else look small. "This is Admiral Seokjin of the Third Fleet," a calm, authoritative voice announced. "All Krath vessels, you are ordered to stand down immediately. Power down all weapons and engines. You are now prisoners of the human navy." The remaining Krath ships that were still fighting stopped. On the view screen, Jiho could see Voss's destroyer, damaged and surrounded, drifting among the asteroids. It was over. After 8 hours of desperate fighting, after throwing everything they had at an armada, after refusing to give up even when death seemed certain, it was finally over. Jiho slumped in his chair and started laughing. He couldn't help it. They had survived. The Velans had survived. "Captain Jiho," Admiral Seokjin said, "I'm told you held off a Krath armada with a cargo ship for 8 hours. Is that accurate?" "Yes, sir," Jiho managed to say. "That," the Admiral said, "is either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Possibly both. Stand by for rescue and medical teams." The bridge crew was cheering now. Sora was crying. Hyun was hugging anyone who got close enough. Even Yuna was smiling. The asteroid field looked like chaos given form. Thousands of rocks, some as small as a car and others as large as buildings, spun through space in an endless deadly dance. Sora stared at the navigation screen, her hands gripping the controls so hard her knuckles turned white. "Captain, I need you to trust me," she said. "I do," Jiho replied. "Everyone else, hold on to something solid." Sora took a deep breath and flew the Bekdu's Pride into the field. Immediately, everything became a blur of movement. Asteroids rushed past on all sides, missing the hull by meters, sometimes by centimeters. Sora's hands moved constantly, adjusting their course, tilting the ship, diving and climbing through gaps that looked too small to fit through. Behind them, the Velan ship followed, Captain Prill somehow managing to keep up. But the Krath destroyers were falling behind. Jiho watched on the rear cameras as one of them tried to match Sora's maneuver and nearly crashed into a spinning rock. "They can't keep up," Taeyang said, amazement in his voice. "Their pilots are too slow." "It's not just speed," Hyun said, watching his engineering readouts. Look at their flight patterns. They're predictable. They're following rules. Sora's flying like a drunk bird and it's keeping us alive. Sora laughed a little wildly. A drunk bird? That's exactly what I'm doing. On Earth, you don't fly in a straight line when something's chasing you. You dodge. You weave. You make yourself hard to hit. A massive asteroid tumbled toward them, rotating slowly. Sora rolled the ship and threaded through a narrow canyon on its surface, so close that Jiho could see the rough texture of the rock. Okay, Sora muttered to herself. That was too close even for me. The Krath are still following, Taeyang reported. But they're being more careful. It's slowing them down. Good, Jiho said. That gives us time to think. Hyun, what do we have in the cargo hold that we can use as weapons? Hyun pulled up the inventory. Let's see. We're carrying industrial equipment for a mining colony, construction mechs, drilling machines, mining charges, titanium support beams, and about 50 tons of refined metals. Jiho felt his mind working through the possibilities. They weren't a warship. They didn't have missiles or torpedoes, but Earth had taught humans to be creative with what they had. Can we shoot the cargo out of the ship? He asked. Sure, Hyun said. We have cargo ejection systems. We use them for emergency dumps. But, Captain, throwing cargo at a warship isn't going to do much damage. What if we accelerate the cargo first? Taeyang suggested. The ship has maneuvering thrusters all over the hull. If we time it right, we could use the thrusters to speed up the cargo as we eject it. Hyun's eyes lit up, like a railgun. A really primitive, inefficient railgun, but it could work, especially those titanium beams. They're dense and heavy. At high enough speed, they'd hit like a hammer. What about the mining charges? Yuna asked. Those are explosives, right? They're meant for breaking up rock, Hyun confirmed. But an explosion is an explosion. If we could get them close to a Krath ship before they detonate, Jiho smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Let's give it a try. Hyun, you and your team start preparing the cargo. Taeyang, work with him on the timing. Sora, can you put us in position to hit one of those destroyers? Give me 5 minutes, Sora said, her eyes never leaving the navigation screen. While they worked, a communication came through from the Velans. Captain Prill's voice sounded both frightened and awed. Captain Jiho, how are you doing this? Our sensors show you pulling turns that should crush your bodies. The G-forces alone should kill you. Jiho thought about how to explain it. Captain Prill, what kind of world do the Velans come from? A water world, Prill answered. Peaceful oceans, gentle currents, abundant food. It is a paradise. Earth is not a paradise, Jiho said. Earth has storms that can level cities, earthquakes that crack the ground open, volcanoes that darken the sky. We have animals that hunt in packs and diseases that kill millions. Humans survived because we learned to be tough. Our bodies can take a lot of damage and keep going. There was silence for a moment. Then Prill spoke again, his voice quiet. We have heard rumors about human worlds, about what you call Class 12 Deathworlds. We thought they were exaggerations. They're not, Yuna said. We evolved in hell. It made us hard to kill. The ship shuddered as another asteroid bounced off their shields, but Sora adjusted their course without even seeming to notice. Captain, Taeyang called out. We're ready. First volley is loaded in the ejection tubes. 5 titanium beams accelerated by the thrusters. On your command. Sora had maneuvered them behind a large asteroid, using it as cover. On the other side, a Krath destroyer was slowly navigating around another rock, its movements cautious and predictable. Wait for it, Jiho said softly. Wait until they're committed to their course. The Krath ship turned, exposing its side as it maneuvered around the asteroid. It was a perfect shot. Fire, Jiho ordered. The cargo bay doors opened, and 5 massive titanium beams shot out, accelerated by every thruster Hyun could bring to bear. They streaked across space like spears thrown by an angry god. The first beam hit the Krath destroyer's shields and bounced off. The second and third hit the same spot and the shields flickered. The fourth beam punched through and tore into the ship's hull. The fifth followed, and Jiho saw atmosphere venting from the wound. Direct hit, Taeyang shouted. Their shields are down in that section, and we've damaged their engine. The Krath destroyer began to drift, no longer able to maintain its position. It would survive, but it was out of the fight. 1 down, Jiho said. 14 to go. Captain, Sora said. I'm getting a communication from the Krath commander. Voss wants to talk. Let him talk. The view screen showed Commander Voss again, The alien's expression was harder to read now. Was that anger, surprise? You are not what I expected, human, Voss said slowly. Our intelligence said your species was primitive, new to space, weak. Your intelligence was wrong, Jiho replied. I see that now. But it changes nothing. You have one cargo ship and a vessel full of refugees. I have 14 warships. Mathematics is not on your side. Math isn't everything, Jiho said. Sometimes you have to carry the one. Voss tilted his head, not understanding the reference. You are delaying the inevitable. When you run out of cargo to throw at us, when your ship finally breaks down, we will still be here, and we will kill every villain on that refugee ship. Why? Jiho asked. What did they do to you? They exist, Voss said simply. Their world had resources we needed. They refused to submit to Krath rule, so we took what we wanted and eliminated the problem. It is what empires do. Not human empires, Jiho said. Not anymore. You have been in space for 50 years, Voss sneered. Do not lecture me about empires. The Krath have ruled for thousands of years. We know how power works. Then let me teach you something new, Jiho said. Let me show you what happens when you threaten children in front of humans. Let me show you why Earth is called a death world. He cut the transmission. Howdy was staring at him. Captain was threatening him wise. She asked. I didn't threaten him, Jiho said. I made him a promise, Hyun's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we've got 8 more volleys ready. But after that, we're out of things to throw. Then we'd better make them count, Jiho replied. And we'd better hope Commander Junho gets here soon. The battle continued among the asteroids. The Baekdu's Pride was a cargo ship, old and battered, crewed by merchants and civilians. But somewhere in the cold equations of violence, Jiho was finding a balance. For every advantage the Krath had in weapons and armor, humans had something else. Speed, creativity, desperation, and 6 hours. They just had to survive for 6 more hours. Jiho looked at his crew, all of them working frantically at their stations. They were terrified. They were exhausted, but none of them had given up. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do, he said. The view screen showed a sight that made Jiho's blood run cold. The Valen ship was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Baekdu's Pride. It looked like a great silver shell, beautiful and delicate. But it was surrounded by 3 Krath destroyers like sharks circling wounded prey. They haven't opened fire yet, Taeyang observed from his weapons station. They're just keeping the Valens from running. They're playing with them, Yuna said, her voice hard with anger. Letting them know there's no escape. Jiho clenched his jaw. Sora, bring us in. Put us between the Valens and the nearest Krath ship. Sir, they're hailing us, Sora said. The Krath commander wants to talk. Put him on screen. The view screen changed, showing a Krath officer. The creature looked like it had been built from sharp angles and cold metal. Its skin was gray and scaled, its eyes black and empty. When it spoke, its voice was like gravel grinding together. Human vessel, you are interfering in Krath Dominion business. The Valens are enemies of our empire. Leave now or you will be destroyed. Jiho stood up, making sure the alien could see him clearly. He kept his face calm, even though his heart was pounding. This is Captain Jiho of the Baekdu's Pride. Those refugees are now under human protection. You will cease your attack and withdraw immediately. The Krath commander stared at him for a long moment. Then it made a sound that might have been laughter. The humans. Yes, we have heard of you. New to space. Barely 50 years beyond your own star system. You think your primitive cargo ship can challenge the Krath Dominion? I think you should consider what it means when someone is willing to die to protect others, Jiho replied. That tells you something about what kind of enemy we'll be. The Krath commander's expression changed slightly. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. I am Commander Voss. I have conquered 17 star systems. I have destroyed over 100 ships. You have one chance to leave. Take it. No, Jiho said simply. Voss stared at him, seeming genuinely surprised. Then you will die for nothing. The screen went dark. Immediately, alarms began screaming on the bridge. They're firing, Sora shouted. The Baekdu's Pride shook as energy weapons hammered against its shields. Jiho grabbed his chair to keep from falling. The lights flickered and somewhere deep in the ship something exploded. Shields at 60%, Taeyang reported. We can't take many more hits like that. Return fire, Jiho ordered. Sora, get us moving. Don't let them get a clean shot. The old cargo ship's 2 defensive guns fired back, but their shots bounced harmlessly off the Krath destroyer's shields. It was like throwing stones at a tank. Another blast hit them. The ship lurched sideways and Yuna slid out of her chair. She caught herself on the edge of a console, cursing. "Shields at 35%, Taeyang said. His voice was steady, but Jiho could see the fear in his eyes. "Captain, we're not going to last." Jiho's mind raced. They needed time. They needed help. But the Third Fleet was still 13 hours away. "Nari, are you getting through to Naval Command?" he asked. Nari was working frantically at the communication station. "Yes, sir. I'm speaking with Fleet Admiral Seokjin himself. He's ordering the nearest ship to us at maximum speed, but it won't get here in time," Jiho finished. He understood. Even if a Navy ship pushed its engines to the breaking point, even if it traveled faster than was safe, it would take hours. The Baekdu's pride would be scrap metal long before then. The Krath weren't just firing at his ship anymore. They had started hitting the Valen vessel again. Jiho could see the energy bolts striking the silver hull, tearing pieces away. "The Valens are calling us," Sora said. "Audio only. Put them through." The musical voice from the distress call filled the bridge. Captain Prill sounded tired now, resigned to death. "Human Captain Jiho, you should not have come. We are grateful, but you cannot save us. Please leave before you die too." "Not happening," Jiho said. "How long can your shields hold?" "Perhaps 10 minutes," Prill said. "Our children are afraid. They do not understand why the Krath want to kill us. We were not soldiers. We were just farmers and teachers and artists. But our world had minerals the Krath wanted, so they came. And when we tried to leave, they followed." Jiho felt rage building in his chest. Not the hot, quick anger that made people do stupid things. This was the cold fury that made people dangerous. "Sora," he said quietly. "Didn't you say there was an asteroid field near here?" Sora checked her navigation. "Yes, sir. About 20 minutes away at full speed." "But Captain, asteroid fields are incredibly dangerous. One wrong move and can you navigate it?" She blinked. I think so, sir. My reflexes are good and the nav computer would help, but it would still be risky." "Can the Krath navigate it?" Sora thought about that. "I don't know, sir. I've never seen alien pilots fly before." From his station, Hyun spoke up. "Captain, I've been reading about the other species. Most of them have slower reaction times than us. Something about Earth being more dangerous than normal planets. Our brains are wired different, faster. It's in the medical literature." Yuna nodded. "He's right. I've seen the studies. The average human reacts to threats about 3 times faster than most alien species. It's because on Earth, if you were slow, you got eaten." Jiho felt a spark of hope. It was insane. It was desperate, but it might work. "Prill," he said, "can your ship follow us if we lead the way?" "Yes," the Valen captain replied. "Our engines still work." "Where are you going?" "Somewhere the Krath won't want to follow. And if they do somewhere, their slow reflexes will get them killed." Jiho looked at his crew. "Everyone strap in. This is going to get rough." "Captain," Nari said urgently, "I have Commander Junho on the line. He's captain of the destroyer Incheon. He says he's 8 hours out, but he's going to push his engines and try to get here in 6. 6 hours. Jiho did the math in his head. They had to survive for 6 hours against 15 Krath warships with nothing but an old cargo hauler and a ship full of refugees. "Tell Junho we'll be here when he arrives," Jiho said. He probably sounded more confident than he felt. "Tell him to bring friends." Another blast rocked the ship. Shields were down to 20%. They had maybe 2 or 3 more hits before the shields failed completely. After that, the Krath weapons would tear through their hull like paper. "Sora, get us to that asteroid field." "Maximum speed?" "Yes, sir." The Baekdu's pride turned and ran, the Valen ship close behind. The Krath destroyers followed, firing as they came. It was a chase now. Predators pursuing fleeing prey through the darkness of space. But Jiho was done running like prey. Somewhere in that asteroid field, among the spinning rocks and crushing gravity, he would show the Krath what happened when you hunted humans. Earth had taught humanity to survive. Now it was time to teach the galaxy what that meant. The warning lights on the console turned red, and a sharp beeping sound filled the bridge of the Baekdu's pride. Captain Jiho looked up from his coffee and frowned. In 20 years of flying cargo ships through space, he had learned that red lights were never good news. "What is it, Sora?" he asked his navigation officer. Sora's fingers moved quickly across her screen. She was young, only 25, but she was the best navigator Jiho had ever worked with. Her eyes went wide as she read the information. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal. It's coming from about 6 hours away at our current speed." Jiho stood up and walked over to her station. Who is it? The ship identifies itself as the Gentle Current. They're Velans, sir, a colony ship carrying refugees. Sora looked up at him and he could see worry in her dark eyes. Captain, they say they're being chased by the Krath Dominion. There's a whole armada after them. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about the Krath. They were one of the most powerful military forces in this part of the galaxy. They had been conquering systems for the past 50 years and no one could stop them. Hyun, the chief engineer, whistled low. He was an older man with gray hair and hands stained from years of working with engines. The Krath? That's bad news, Captain. Real bad news. How many ships are hunting them? Jiho asked. Sora checked her screen again. The Valens report 15 Krath warships, sir. Destroyers and cruisers. From the medical station, Yuna spoke up. She had been a military corpsman before joining Jiho's crew, and she still had that sharp, focused look of a soldier. Captain, we can't fight 15 warships. The Bekdu's Pride is a cargo ship. We have maybe 2 defensive guns and some basic shields. We'd be dead in minutes. Jiho knew she was right. His ship was old, built for carrying supplies, not fighting wars. His crew numbered only 12 people. They had no marines, no heavy weapons, and no armor to speak of. Going up against a Krath armada would be suicide. Play the distress call, he said quietly. Sora pressed a button and a voice filled the bridge. It was high and musical, speaking in the common galactic language, but even through the translation everyone could hear the fear. This is Captain Prill of the Gentle Current. We are a refugee vessel carrying 3,000 civilians from the Valan homeworld. The Krath Dominion has occupied our planet and we fled with whoever we could save. Their fleet is pursuing us. Our weapons are disabled. Our shields are failing. We have mostly children and elderly aboard. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We are dying out here, the message repeated. In the background, they could hear sounds that might have been crying. Young voices calling for their parents. Jiho closed his eyes for a moment. 3,000 refugees, mostly children and elderly. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth, safe in school, complaining about homework. These Velan kids would never complain about homework again if no one helped them. Sir, Yuna said gently, I know what you're thinking, but we can't save them if we're dead too. How long until the Third Fleet could get here? Jiho asked. Sora worked her calculations. If we send a message now, at least 14 hours, sir. Maybe more depending on where they are. The Velans don't have 14 hours, Jiho said. He looked around at his crew. They had been with him for years. He knew their families. He knew their dreams. He had no right to ask them to die today, but he also knew they had all heard those children crying. I'm not ordering anyone to come, he said slowly. This is volunteer only. We'll drop anyone who wants to leave at the nearest station, but I'm going to help those people, even if all we can do is buy them a few more hours. Hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. Captain, you're a damn fool. You know that, right? He stood up and cracked his knuckles. Good thing I'm a fool, too. Let's go save some people, Yuna nodded. I didn't become a medic to let children die, sir. I'm in. One by one, each crew member spoke up. Sora, Taeyang, their weapons specialist. Nari, the diplomatic envoy who had been traveling with them. Do-hyun and his small security team. All of them knew the odds. All of them chose to go anyway. Jiho felt something tight in his chest. Pride maybe, or fear, probably both. All right then, he said. Sora, set a course for those coordinates. Maximum speed. Hyun, I need everything you can give me from the engines. Taeyang, check our weapons. I know we don't have much, but make sure what we have works. Yes, sir. They all responded. As the crew rushed to their stations, Nari approached Jiho. She was a calm woman, usually smiling, but now her face was serious. Captain, I'm sending a priority message to Earth Naval Command. I'll tell them what we're doing and request immediate support. Good, Jiho said. Tell them to hurry. The Bekdu's Pride turned in space, its old engines humming as it accelerated toward the distress signal. Jiho sat in his captain's chair and watched the stars blur past on the view screen. 6 hours? They had 6 hours to figure out how a cargo ship could stand against an armada. Captain, Sora said quietly, the Valans are still broadcasting. Should I respond? Jiho thought for a moment. Yes, tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold on just a little longer. Sora sent the message. Across the vastness of space, light years away, the Valans would receive it. They would know someone had heard their call. They would know they weren't alone anymore, but Jiho wondered if that would be enough. He wondered if hope was just a cruel thing to give people when death was coming for them anyway. He pushed the thought away. There would be time for doubt later. Right now he had a crew to lead and refugees to save. 5 hours and 47 minutes until we reach them, Captain, Sora reported. Then we'd better get ready, Jiho said. Everyone, listen up. We're about to do something incredibly stupid, so let's make sure we do it right.